Greetings all, this is Joe Haig. Hope everyone out there is doing well, and welcome to part 2 of our Daz to Metahuman with Body and Textures tutorial. Just a quick recap. In part 1, we went through the process of prepping our Daz character, optimizing their textures, exporting them, wrapping our Metahuman combined mesh to them, then utilizing a Maya plugin called Metapipe to finish up the conversion process. So coming into part 2, you should have your custom body and head mesh freshly exported out of Maya. If you happen to stumble upon this video first, go ahead and check out part 1 of this tutorial, as those steps are necessary to adequately follow along with this video. Alright, so let's create a new Unreal 5.4 project. I'm going to use the Film and Live Events template, but you can use whatever suits your needs. Name it whatever you'd like, and once it's fully loaded and ready to go, let's navigate up to our Quixel Bridge plugin. Select the Metahuman you created in part 1 and import it into your project. You will be prompted to enable some project settings and plugins. Just click Enable on everything, and when it finishes, go ahead and restart the engine. Once Unreal is back up, create a folder in your content directory and name it Custom Metahuman. Then, inside of that, create 3 more folders and name them as follows: Grooms, Materials, and Textures. Head over to your downloaded Metahumans folder and navigate to the Face directory. Select your WM1, 2, and 3 normal maps. Right-click, select Asset Actions, and export these maps to your Wrap Textures folder inside your Daz to Metahuman directory we created in part 1. We will be using these a bit later on. Next, head over to your Metahuman's Hair underscore folder, and inside it, open the Hair folder. Duplicate the first groom asset in the folder. Rename it to Custom Hair, and move it to your Custom Metahuman's Grooms folder. And let's repeat this process for the eyebrows, the eyelashes, and the peach fuzz, located in the other hair folder. Finally, let's duplicate and move the eyes, the head, and the body material instances. For the eyes, navigate to the face folder in your Metahumans directory. Then, in the materials folder, duplicate both eye materials, rename them to Custom Eye Left and Custom Eye Right, and move them to your Custom Metahumans materials folder. Then, in the baked folder, duplicate your MI underscore head synthesized material instance and name it Custom Head. And again, move it to our Custom Metahumans materials folder. And now the same for the body. Back in the Metahumans folder, go into the materials directory, duplicate the M underscore body synthesized material instance, rename it to Custom Body, and you guessed it, move it over to that Custom Metahumans materials folder. And we are now ready to import our Custom Metahuman. Open up your DNA underscore calibration output directory. Drag your Custom Metahuman head into the root of your Custom Metahumans folder, and when presented with the FBX import options pop-up, make sure to select the face archetype as the skeleton. Something to note, if you have city sample crowds in your project, make sure the face archetype skeleton is coming from the Metahumans common folder and not the city sample crowds folder. Then, if it's not already selected, make sure to tick Import Morph Targets. Set the normal input method to import normals, the normal generation method to built-in, the physics asset to the face archetype physics with the create physics asset unchecked, and lastly, do not create materials. Now go ahead and import all. Once imported, open up your custom mesh head, and under LOD0, check the highlight box under section 0 and confirm that the head is what is highlighted. Then, under recompute tangents, go ahead and set that to all. Under LOD info, set skin cast usage to enabled. Scroll down a little more. Under build settings, make sure use full precision UVs and UE4 compatible UVs are both checked, and then click apply changes. Under skeletal mesh, for the post-process anim blueprint, select face post-process anim BP. And under asset user data, add 2 more array elements. One being asset guidelines, and the next Metahuman DNA data. And for the animation rig, select face underscore control board underscore control rig. Again, make sure this is coming from the Metahumans common folder. Save and close it, and let's go ahead and import the DNA file by dragging it from the DNA calibration output folder into the Custom Metahumans root folder. When the DNA import options pop-up appears, select your custom head and press import. Now for the body, fortunately there's a lot less to set up. Drag your body mesh from the output folder into your Custom Metahumans folder, and when the import options pop up, select Metahuman Base Skeleton. Again, make sure it's from the Metahumans common folder. Import morph targets should already be checked from your last import, and for the physics asset, make sure it matches your Metahuman's body type. For me, I will select female, tall, normal weight body physics. The rest of the import settings should also be the same from your last import, so go ahead and click Import All. Once imported, open up your custom body mesh, and under Animation Rig, select Metahuman_Control Rig. And for the Post-Process Anim Blueprint, just select your body type's Post-Process Anim BP. And that's it for the body. Go ahead and click Save, and we can close out of that. Now, in your Metahumans folder, go ahead and duplicate your Metahumans blueprint, name it whatever you'd like, and move it to the root of your custom Metahumans folder. Now, let's get all of our head and body materials assigned, so when we bring in our updated textures, all we need to do is plug those textures in. For the head, if you chose to export all the head meshes out of Maya, the material placement on our custom Metahuman should correspond with the ones on our downloaded Metahuman. Assign your custom head and eye materials to your custom head mesh, and every other material can just be copied and pasted from your downloaded Metahuman. Once you've finished this, save and close that. Now for your custom body mesh, simply assign the custom body material. Save it and close out of it. Now let's get our groom set up. In your custom Metahumans groom directory, right-click each custom groom and select Create Binding. Then select your custom head mesh as the target and the downloaded Metahumans head mesh as the source. Click Create, and once all of your bindings are created, go ahead and open your custom Metahumans blueprint. With the body selected, load your custom Metahumans body into the skeletal mesh asset, and under the Materials section, select your custom material. Repeat this process for the face, then, under each of the grooms, replace the groom asset and binding assets to your custom ones. When that's completed, go ahead and click Compile, Save, and close out of that. We are now ready to move on to updating the Daz textures. Let's head into Wrap and open the project we saved in Part 1. We will have to rewrap our meshes for the Daz texture transfer, but that's okay, as your point pairs will have saved with your project, so you won't have to go through all that again. Go ahead and add a Load Image node over your right Load Geometry node and connect it. Then, under your Wrapping node, create a Transfer Textures node. Connect the right Load Geometry node to the far left input of the Transfer Textures node, and the Wrapping node to the center input of the Transfer Textures node. With the Load Image node selected, navigate to your Daz to Metahuman Daz Mesh and Textures directory. Select your Daz Diffuse map and click Open. Select your Wrapping node and let's press Compute. Once wrapped, we should now have our Daz textures projected onto our Metahumans mesh. You can check this by clicking on the Texture Transfer node and making sure you're in the Viewport 2D. You should now see your Metahuman face texture map with your Daz textures. And since the body texture information resides on the 1 of the U space, if you change the 0 to 1, you will see the body is projected correctly as well. Let's go ahead and export our diffuse maps. Since we are on the body, let's do it first. Make sure your resolution is set to 8192 on the width and the height, and under your Transfer Texture node, create an Extrapolate Image node. You don't have to do this, but this node helps a lot with seams, so I recommend it. And from our Extrapolate Image node, let's create a Save Image node and connect them. With the Save Image node selected, save out your body map to your Wrap Textures directory as Wrapped Body Diffuse. Press Save, and then compute current frame. Reselect your Transfer Texture node and change the U space back to 0. Now repeat the process from the Save Image node and save out the head textures as Wrapped Head Diffuse. You will notice some discrepancies in the eyelid region. Don't worry, we will clean that up in Photoshop later. Go ahead and repeat this process for the Daz Normal map and Bump map. And when you're finished, you should have a total of 6 texture maps in your Wrap Textures directory. The Wrapped Head and Body Diffuse, Normal, and Bump maps. Save and close your wrap project, and let's open up Zbrush. Import your final head mesh from your Metapipe Meshes directory. Divide it up to subdivision level 6, and scroll down to your UV map menu and set your UV map size to 8192. Now let's import the wrapped head bump map we exported out of wrap. Remember to flip the V, and once imported, let's load it as a displacement map. Set the intensity to something like 0.005 and click Apply Displacement. Then set your subdivision back to 1, and under the Normal Map menu, select Create Normal Map. Once created, press the Clone Normal button and export the normal map to your Wrap Textures directory as Extra Detail Normal Head. Go ahead and repeat this process for the body and name it Extra Detail Normal Body. You can go ahead and close out of Zbrush for now, and let's head into Photoshop and open our Wrapped Head Diffuse. Let's also navigate to the Action panel, click on the menu icon, and ensure that Allow Tool Recording is checked. Now let's create a new action. You can name it whatever you like, but I'm going to call mine Meta Cleanup, and go ahead and start recording. If you're in an older version of Photoshop that doesn't have generative capabilities, this will still work just fine with the healing brush tools, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to use the Remove tool. Once all the edits have been made, go ahead and press Stop Recording in the Actions panel. Save and overwrite your Wrapped Head Diffuse and close it. Now let's open up our Wrapped Head Normal and our Extra Detail Normal head maps, and simply run the action you just created on both normal maps. Doesn't have to be perfect, we just don't want those marks showing up on the eyelids of our finished Metahuman. When it's finished, copy the Extra Detail Normal and paste it over the Wrapped Head Normal. Set the blending mode to Overlay, merge the layers, and export it as Final Head Normal to your Wrap Textures directory. Now let's refresh Photoshop and drag our Final Head Normal and the WM1, 2, and 3 normal maps in. Select and copy your Final Head Normal and paste it over each of the WM normal maps. Once again, let's set the blend mode on each of them to Overlay. And on the WM map layers, let's add a Gaussian blur filter to each one and set the radius to a value of between 7 to 10. This is pretty subjective depending on the character, but 7 to 10 has yielded good results for me. When you have all that finished, go ahead and merge layers on each, and you can save and overwrite the original WM files. Now let's open up the Wrap Body Normal and the Extra Detail Normal body maps. We don't have to run our action on the body, so just repeat the overlay process by copying and pasting the Extra Detail Normal over the Wrap Body Normal, setting the blend mode to Overlay. Merge down the layers and save it as Final Body Normal and your Wrap Textures directory. And we are now done in Photoshop. We are also nearing the end of this process, so hang in there. Okay, let's open Substance 3D Designer and create a new substance graph. The default settings are fine, and you can name it something like Meta Displacement. Go ahead and press OK, then right-click on the unsafe package. Go to Import, Bitmap, and import the final head and body normals from your Wrap Textures directory. This may take a few seconds due to the size of the normal maps. Once imported, drag both maps into the graph. Drag from the outputs and create a normal to height high quality node for each. Make sure with the normal to height node selected to change the quality on both to high. The relief balance can be left on 0.5 as that seems to yield good results. Then create output nodes for both, head over to Tools, and Export Outputs. Make sure your destination path is your Wrap Textures folder, your format is PNG, and go ahead and click Export Outputs. Finally, back in Zbrush, let's import the final head mesh again. Subdivide it up to subdivision level 6, head over to your alphas, and import your head displacement. Make sure to flip the V. Go ahead and load the map in the Displacement map menu. Based on our relief settings and substance, a value of 0.01 seems to work very well. Apply the displacement, then in the Z Plugin tab, click on the Multi-Map Exporter. Make sure the only thing selected is Cavity, set the map size to 8192, and make sure Flip V is selected, then click Create All Maps. Save the head cavity in the Wrap Textures directory. Once finished, go ahead and repeat this process on the body. When you're done, we now have all the texture maps we need to go back into Unreal and finish the custom Metahuman textures setup. Back inside our Unreal project, let's navigate to our custom Metahumans textures directory and import the following maps: the wrapped head and body diffuse map, the final head and body normal maps, the updated WM1, 2, and 3 maps, and our newly created head and body cavity maps. Once imported, go ahead and save them, and let's load them into their respective slots in our custom material instances. Let's start with opening up our custom head material. Under base color, replace all 4 maps with our wrapped head diffuse map. Then scroll down until you find the normal section. Replace the normal main with our final head normal, and the WM1, 2, and 3 maps with our updated WM1, 2, and 3 maps. Scroll down some more until you get to the roughness section, and under roughness main, double-click the texture map. Scroll down until you see the compositing section and replace the composite texture with our final head normal. Click Save, close it, and back in the head material, scroll down to the specular section and replace the cavity map with our custom cavity map out of Zbrush. Save the material, close it, and open up the custom body material. Replace the color main and color underwear with the wrapped body diffuse map. Scroll down and uncheck the underwear mask. For the normal main, load your final body normal, and for the roughness, once again double-click the texture to get into the texture editor. Scroll down to the composite texture and replace the current with your final body normal. Save that, close it, and back in the body material, under specular, replace the cavity map with your custom cavity map. Save the custom body material and close it. And we are done. Drag your custom Metahuman blueprint into the scene, make sure everything looks okay. Sometimes it's good to restart the engine for everything to take effect fully. But if everything does look good, make any adjustments you want to your groom materials, and you're ready to go. Create a level sequence, pull in your Metahuman, test out all the rigs, and have fun creating with your custom Metahuman. If you found these videos informative and helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next video.